3 in the morning. You wake up needing the bathroom. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed, plant your feet, and push up. And for one long second, nothing happens the way it used to. Your legs just hesitate, like they've forgotten the instructions. You grab the nightstand. You wait. Your balance arrives a beat late, the way a delayed reply lands in a conversation. Here's what should get your attention. That hesitation is not a random glitch. It's a warning your body sends months, sometimes years, before a real fall happens. Most people miss it completely. They blame it on a bad night's sleep, an old pair of slippers, getting up too fast. But if you've felt that half-second delay, your legs are already telling you something is changing underneath the surface, quietly, long before it becomes a real problem. Tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what that message means and exactly what to do about it, starting with something as simple as what's on your plate this evening. My name is Dr. Ryan Cole, and I've spent my career helping older adults stay steady on their feet, stay out of the emergency room, and stay independent in their own homes. If your legs have ever hesitated like that, or stairs have started asking more of you than they used to, this video is for you. And I want to say this clearly, right at the start. Even if you're 70, 80, or 90 years old, everything I'm about to share still applies to you. Your body is not finished adapting. Stick with me, because the most important piece of this comes a little later, and it's far simpler than you'd expect. Let's talk about what's actually happening when your legs start to feel unreliable. Because the answer isn't what most people assume, and once you hear it, the whole picture changes. It starts quietly, almost politely. Getting up from a low chair takes a bit more effort than it used to. A short walk leaves your legs feeling heavier by the time you get back than when you left. Maybe you've caught yourself gripping the stair railing lately, when you never used to think twice about it. Maybe you've started taking stairs one at a time instead of two, without even deciding to. None of this feels dramatic in the moment. That's exactly what makes it dangerous. It's easy to write off as just an off day. But when the same small thing repeats week after week, it's telling you something real is shifting underneath the surface. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Weak legs aren't really a leg problem. They're a communication problem. Think of your brain and your leg muscles as two old friends who've been talking your whole life. Your brain sends the signal, your legs respond instantly, and you move without ever thinking about it. As we get older, that conversation can start to fade, like a phone call with a bad connection. The signal still goes out, it just doesn't arrive with the same strength or speed. At the same time, the muscle fibers that used to answer quickly and powerfully start thinning out if they aren't regularly asked to work. And underneath all of that, blood flow to your legs can slow down just enough that less oxygen and fuel reach the muscles that need it most. Put those three things together, a fading signal, thinning fibers, and slower circulation, and you get exactly what you've been feeling. Legs that hesitate, balance that feels less certain, stairs that suddenly ask more of you. Let me ask you something. Does this happen more in the evening for you, or more first thing in the morning? I'd genuinely like to know, because it tells us something about where your body is losing the most ground during the day. It's worth pausing here because this is the part people skip past too quickly. A fall in your 60s often means a bruise and a bit of embarrassment. A fall in your 80s or 90s can mean a hospital stay, a long recovery, or a conversation with your family about whether you can keep living the way you have been. That's not meant to frighten you. It's meant to explain why catching this early, tonight, is worth far more than waiting until your legs force the issue for you. Now, let me stop you before your mind goes somewhere unhelpful. I know what it's like to hear the signal between your brain and your muscles fades with age and think, well, I'm 88. That ship has sailed. It hasn't. Research on older adults, including people well into their 90s, has consistently found that muscle tissue keeps responding to the right kind of stimulation at almost any age. Your body isn't asking whether you're too old. It's asking whether you're giving it a reason to keep that signal strong. That's genuinely different from being told it's too late. It isn't. It comes down to what you do with the hours you have today, and especially tonight. Before I get to the plan, let me clear up something that confuses a lot of people. Because this one mix-up might be the exact reason nothing's changed for you yet. This isn't about walking more during the day, and it isn't about doing more chores around the house. Plenty of people stay busy all day long and still feel their legs failing them by evening. Being active and rebuilding strength are not the same thing. You can be on your feet for hours and still not be sending your muscles the specific kind of signal that tells your body, keep this tissue strong, keep this connection sharp. That's the piece daytime activity alone usually misses, and it's exactly the gap tonight's plan is built to close. Which brings me to why tonight, specifically, matters more than any other point in your day. While you sleep, your body shifts into repair mode. This is when muscle tissue rebuilds, when inflammation gets cleared out, and when your nervous system does its quiet maintenance work. Give your body the right raw materials and the right small signals in the hours before sleep, and you hand it exactly what it needs for that repair window. Waste those hours, and your body has far less to work with overnight. That's why what you do tonight carries more weight than you'd assume. So here are the 3 things I want you to start doing tonight. Not 6, not an overwhelming list. 3. And I'll walk you through exactly why each one earns its place. The first is what you eat. If your legs have been feeling weaker, one of the most overlooked culprits is simply not getting enough usable protein in the evening. Here's why that matters specifically at night. Your body rebuilds muscle tissue most actively while you sleep, and it needs building blocks already available in your bloodstream to do that work. If your last meal of the day is light on protein, a piece of toast, a bowl of cereal, something quick and easy, your body may enter its repair window with almost nothing to build with. Physical therapists who specialize in aging often point to a simple, unglamorous fix. A modest serving of a protein-rich food at dinner, something like eggs, fish, poultry, beans, or plain yogurt. You don't need a large portion. A palm-sized amount is generally enough for most older adults. What matters far more than quantity is consistency, making this a normal part of most evenings, not something you do once and forget. Picture a woman named Carol, 79, who started adding 2 scrambled eggs to her dinner most nights. Nothing more dramatic than that. Within a few weeks, she told her physical therapist that getting up from her recliner felt noticeably less effortful. That's a small, believable shift, not a miracle. Just consistent fuel showing up at the right time, night after night, until her body simply expected it and started using it well. One thing worth mentioning here because it trips people up. This isn't about eating more food overall, and it isn't about a specific brand of protein shake or supplement. It's about making sure the last meal of your day isn't accidentally empty of the one nutrient your body needs most while you sleep. Small swap, same plate, same portions, just a little more intention behind what's on it. Get that piece right, and you've already solved half the puzzle. But food alone can't fix a fading signal. That takes something else entirely. The second thing is movement. And I promise you this is not a workout. It's 2 minutes, and you can do all of it sitting down if you need to. Here's the biology behind why it matters so much at night. Remember that quiet conversation between your brain and your leg muscles? Movement is literally the practice that keeps that conversation sharp. Every time you contract a muscle on purpose, you send a fresh signal down that pathway, reminding your nervous system that this connection still gets used. Skip movement for long stretches, and the pathway doesn't break, it just gets rusty from disuse, the same way a language gets harder to speak the longer you go without using it. So here's what to do. Sit toward the front of a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor. Slowly lift your heels as high as comfortable, then lower them. Do 10 of those. Then reverse it. Lift your toes while your heels stay planted, then lower them. Another 10. If you can stand safely, holding a counter or the back of a chair, do the same movement standing, which asks a little more of your balance system as a bonus. Under 2 minutes, and it directly wakes up the exact muscles and nerves responsible for keeping you steady on your feet. If 10 repetitions feels like too much on your first night, start with 5. This isn't a test you can fail. The goal is simply to do it consistently, and to slowly add a repetition or two every week as it starts to feel easier. Some people find it helps to do this right in front of the television, so it becomes attached to something they already do every night, rather than one more thing to remember. Others find it easier to do it while brushing their teeth, using the extra minute or two they're already standing at the sink anyway. The third step is the one almost everyone skips, and it might be the most important of the three. It's a short wind down, no more than 3 to 5 minutes, where you gently stretch your calves and the back of your thighs before getting into bed. Here's why it earns its place. Tight, tense muscles restrict blood flow, and reduced blood flow overnight means your muscles have a harder time doing their repair work while you sleep. A simple stretch: stand an arm's length from a wall, step 1 foot back, keep that back heel on the ground, and lean gently forward until you feel a mild pull in your calf, held for 20 to 30 seconds on each side, can meaningfully improve blood flow to the muscles that worked hardest during your day. Pair that with a few slow, deep breaths, and you're also calming your nervous system down, which matters because a wound-up nervous system doesn't repair tissue nearly as efficiently as a relaxed one. So that's the full plan. A modest, protein-rich food at dinner, 2 minutes of seated or standing heel and toe movement, 3 to 5 minutes of gentle stretching and slow breathing before bed. 3 steps, all doable in under 10 minutes total every single night. Nothing complicated, nothing expensive, nothing that requires a gym membership or a special diet. Just 3 small signals, repeated on purpose, at the exact hour your body is most ready to use them. But I know what some of you are already thinking. What if standing itself is the hard part? Now I want to speak directly to those of you dealing with joint pain, arthritis, or limited mobility, because this plan is absolutely built for you too. If standing is uncomfortable, do every part of this seated. The heel and toe lifts work just as well from a chair. The calf stretch can be done seated too. Loop a towel around the ball of your foot and gently pull it toward you, holding that same gentle stretch without ever standing up. If your knees are sensitive, keep the movements small and slow rather than skipping them altogether. A small, pain-free range of motion still sends the signal your nervous system needs. If you have significant joint pain, a diagnosed heart condition, osteoporosis, or a recent surgery, check with your doctor before starting anything new, just to make sure these movements fit your specific situation. That's a 5-minute conversation that can buy you real peace of mind. One more small thing that helps all 3 steps work better. Drink a glass of water in the early evening. Muscles that are running low on fluid don't contract as efficiently, and a lot of older adults quietly underdrink during the day without realizing it. This isn't about counting glasses or forcing down more than feels comfortable. It's just one more small habit that supports everything else you're doing tonight. Here's a question worth sitting with. Which of these 3 steps do you think you're currently skipping? For a lot of people watching this, it's the stretching. It feels like the least urgent one, and it's often the one quietly making the biggest difference behind the scenes. Let's talk about how you'll actually know this is working, because I don't want you doing this blindly for weeks with no sense of progress. And that's exactly where most people quietly give up. Not because it isn't working, but because they can't yet see that it is. Here's a simple self-check you can do right now, then repeat every couple of weeks. Stand in front of a sturdy chair, arms crossed over your chest if you're able. See how many times you can stand up and sit back down in 30 seconds, using as little help from your hands as possible. Write that number down. Do it again in 2 weeks, then again in 4. You're not looking for a dramatic jump. You're looking for a gentle upward trend, 1 or 2 more repetitions, or the movement simply feeling smoother than before. That small trend is real evidence the conversation between your brain and your legs is getting stronger. Some people also notice the change before the numbers show it. They get up from the couch without pushing off with both hands, or they take a curb without pausing first. Those small moments count just as much as the count on the chair test. There's a second, even simpler check if the chair test feels like too much on its own. Just notice how many times a week you reach for a railing, a wall, or a piece of furniture out of habit rather than real need. If that number quietly starts dropping over the coming weeks, that's the same signal showing up in real life, instead of on paper. On timelines, I want to be honest rather than make you a promise I can't back up. Nobody's legs transform overnight, and anyone who tells you otherwise isn't being straight with you. What research on strength training in older adults consistently shows is that meaningful, noticeable improvements in leg strength and balance tend to show up over several weeks to a couple of months of consistent effort, not days. Think of it less like flipping a switch and more like slowly turning up a dimmer. Take George, an 86-year-old former mail carrier. He started this same three-step approach after a scare where he nearly lost his balance reaching into his mailbox. He noticed nothing different the first week. By week 3, he mentioned that getting out of his car felt a little less like a production. By week 6, his daughter said he seemed steadier crossing her kitchen. Slow, believable, earned progress. Not a miracle, just consistency compounding quietly over time. One ordinary evening after another. And then there's Ruth, 91, who almost didn't try any of this because she assumed her age put her past the point of it mattering. Her daughter talked her into just the calf stretch and the heel lifts, nothing else for 2 weeks. Ruth didn't expect much, but she told her daughter that reaching for the top shelf in her kitchen, something that used to make her wobble a little, suddenly felt more solid under her feet. She still isn't running anywhere. Nobody's asking her to. But she trusts her own 2 legs a little more than she did a month ago, and at 91, that's not a small thing. That's everything. Let's bring this together. Your legs hesitating isn't just a muscle issue. It's a conversation between your brain and your muscles growing quieter, fibers thinning from disuse, and circulation slowing just enough to matter. None of that means it's too late for you, no matter your age. Tonight, and every night going forward, you have 3 simple tools. A modest, protein-rich food at dinner to give your body raw material, 2 minutes of seated or standing heel and toe movement to keep that nerve to muscle signal sharp, and a few minutes of gentle stretching and slow breathing before bed to support blood flow and recovery while you sleep. Track your progress every couple of weeks with that sit-to-stand check, and give it real time, because meaningful change here is built in weeks, not days. I want you to picture something specific, not some far-off, abstract version of staying independent. I mean the actual moment you hear a knock at the door and get up to answer it without a second thought. The morning you walk out to check your garden without gripping the railing the whole way. The afternoon your grandchild comes running for a hug and you bend down and meet them halfway without hesitating. Or simply the quiet relief of standing up in a dark room at 3 in the morning and trusting your legs to just do their job, without that half-second pause we started with tonight. That's what tonight's 3 steps are really building toward, not just stronger legs, but the feeling of trusting your own body again, one ordinary night at a time. If this gave you something you can use tonight, tell me in the comments which of the 3 steps you're starting with first. If you've already noticed your own legs hesitating the way I described at the start, tell me that too. You're far from the only one, and it helps others to know they're not alone in this. And if you've got a food, a stretch, or a small habit of your own that's helped your legs feel steadier, share it below. Someone else reading the comments might need exactly that idea today. And if you know someone whose legs have been quietly slowing them down, a parent, a neighbor, a friend, send them this video. It might be exactly what they need today. I'm Dr. Ryan Cole, and this has been Senior Leg Health. Take care of those legs. They've still got a lot of walking left to do.